Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
For one thing, you know, you go to movies to be involved in the picture, to get a sense. I want to lose myself up in that screen for a few hours, and in a sense, know what it's like to be human, in a way. Then you come across certain kinds of films that, when you go to the theater and when you see them, you're completely surprised. They make you look at life a different way. They make you look at being human a different way. They touch areas that you don't want touched sometimes. And then there's that rarest of films where, when you see it continually over years, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you still see more in it. And what's even better is that if you're making pictures, you go back to this well, this source, for A, inspiration, and B, maybe it should be A, is to learn how to make pictures. To learn, and remember, when you get tired, especially if you make 10 or 12 films in your life, and you get tired, you say, why, how can I get that better? What can I do? You look at that source, you look at that inspiration, you say, well, Kubrick.
Ever since its creation in 1891, movies have molded and changed American culture like nothing else. People quote their favorite lines,
"Why so serious?"
and gather with friends to watch and discuss different movies. This often brings up a common question: who is the greatest filmmaker and why? No matter where you search, one man can always be found at the top of the list. Stanley Kubrick has always been hailed as one of the most legendary filmmakers to date, for his numerous groundbreaking films and his unique style. Despite typically not being a household name, Stanley Kubrick's many works have inspired thousands of movie makers and viewers for decades.
Jeremy Bernstein, tape, November 27, side A. Born July 26, 1928, New York City. My father is a doctor. One sister, Barbara. I had few intellectual interests. As a child, I was a school misfit and considered, reading a book schoolwork. And I don't think I read a book for pleasure until after I graduated high school. Well, I had one thing I think that perhaps get over being a misfit, a school misfit, and that is that I became interested in photography. And it was a case of, over a period of, say, from the age of 13 to 17, you might say, going through step by step by myself without anybody really helping me, the problem solving of becoming a photographer. I rented a 35mm IMO camera, and I did a documentary film about a boxer named Walter Cartier. But I didn't really know what I didn't know, and I thought, well, there really can't be very much more to making a feature film, and I certainly couldn't make one worse than the films that I kept seeing every week.
Give your hands up, all of you. Now, one move out of any one of you, and I'm going to start firing. You, fill that bag up just as fast as you know how.
Kubrick's first 4 films didn't get much attention. However, in his 1957 war film, Paths of Glory, Kubrick gained recognition and the chance to make more films for an actual company. From there, he completed a total of 9 films that tackled diverse themes and genres. Some of his most recognizable films are Spartacus, Lolita, Dr. Strangelove, Full Metal Jacket, Barry Lyndon, A Clockwork Orange.
So you're keen on music? Yes! Can't be helped.
And probably most of all, his adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining.
Here's Johnny!
Each and every one of these films are hailed as classics and have inspired many new films, as well as win Kubrick nearly a dozen awards and nominations.
Can't do it, head down.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad.
None of these films, however, are as significant as his 1968 film, "2001: A Space Odyssey." When 2001: A Space Odyssey was released, America was in the middle of the space race with the Soviet Union. That meant that space and space travel was very popular at the time.
Before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
The race for space was on everybody's mind. It was, in the front pages of the newspaper every single day. You couldn't avoid it. It carried all the hope of mankind.
Despite this fact, there were very few films about outer space being created and viewed by large groups. The science fiction genre in film was very small in the 1960s, and only a few films gained any attention on a large scale. Additionally, many of the films were low budgeted and considered B films or less polished.
Only to destroy. Father turned against son.
Not to mention, these movies were hardly grounded in any sort of actual science. Because of this, the stage was set for Kubrick to create 2001: A Space Odyssey and change the genre forever. Right off the bat, Kubrick obsessed over researching the science behind space travel, as well as the predicted technology to come into the future. He hired a handful of real NASA scientists to consult during filming and post-production, notably Frederick Ordway and Harry Lang, who formerly had high-ranking jobs at NASA.
Two of these men, space scientists Fred Ordway and Harry Lange, formerly of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and both active in space vehicle construction, are Stanley Kubrick's principal astronautic advisors.
We've been brought in here by Stanley Kubrick to more or less ensure the scientific integrity of the film, to make sure that it's very, very close in reality to what we're doing today in the spaceflight program. And naturally, we're looking forward 35 years, but still, we want to make certain that it has a base of reality.
As a result, the film was very scientifically grounded and even ended up predicting technologies that we have today, such as iPads and FaceTime. Then there was the budget. Kubrick used approximately $10.5 million for the film. A large chunk of this budget was put into the creation of a huge rotating set that would flip a complete 360 degrees.
Here is the completed centrifuge in motion.
This was used for the cockpit of the main space shuttle to show that it was spinning in the weightlessness of space. This is a technique that would later be seen for a different effect in Christopher Nolan's film Inception. Upon release, 2001: A Space Odyssey gained instant praise from moviegoers across the country and later, the world. After that, filmmakers and moviegoers began to realize the possibilities of the science fiction genre, and more high-budget movies that were grounded in science began to be created. Almost a decade later, George Lucas would release his science fiction movie, Star Wars: A New Hope, that has now grown into one of the largest movie franchises in existence. It's possible that Star Wars would not have existed or been the same without the techniques and technology used for 2001: A Space Odyssey. When asked what he thought about Kubrick's film, Lucas replied, "It was the first time people really took science fiction seriously. Stanley Kubrick made the ultimate science fiction movie. It's going to be very hard for someone to come along and make a better movie as far as I'm concerned." These days, science fiction is one of the most popular movie genres, and it has influenced how people dress and the different shows they watch and enjoy. It's quite possible that the science fiction genre would not be as popular or widespread without Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Kubrick died on March 7, 1999, just 1 week after completing his final film, Eyes Wide Shut.
He dared us to have the courage of his convictions, and when we take that dare, we're transported directly to his world, and we're inside his vision. And in the whole history of movies, there's been nothing like that vision ever. It was a vision of hope and wonder, of grace and of mystery. It was a gift to us, and now it's a legacy. We will be challenged and nourished by that for as long as we keep the courage to take his dare. And I hope that will be long after we've said our thanks and our goodbyes.